You're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Green Bay Packers content. Created for the fans by the fans. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know whenever we go live. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Packers_access. Go Pack Go. Enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. I'm trying to text Mandy and say, hey, the game's actually on ABC, not ESPN. So I was in the middle of doing that read. That's how professional we are here. You know what I mean? Tim, how you doing tonight? Buy me about 45 seconds here, bro.
I'm doing great. It's Victory Monday night. Hopefully hell will freeze over and the Bears will actually do what they're supposed to do and win a ball game tonight. But you never know. I'm just glad that we won and took care of business last night. And, of course, all things considered, things could be a lot worse, right? We could be Bears fans right now, hoping to just salvage a win here towards the end of the year. But I'll tell you what, Packer Nation, we're certainly pulling for the Bears if you're looking at these NFC playoff pictures and hoping to leapfrog the Vikings. We could certainly use a Minnesota loss tonight for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say we're all Bears fans tonight. There's no doubt about that. And obviously the game just got kicked off, so we'll give you guys updates as the game goes along.
But we can't say that without saying this.
The Bears still suck.
We can root for them, and they can suck. Both can be true, right, Tim? That's just the way that goes. So
exactly. It's not like we're actually rooting for the Bears. We're just rooting against the Vikings tonight, really, is what it is.
Exactly. I'll tell you what else is true, though. The best place to get your Packers tickets is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description that'll send you to their website, theticketking.com. You can go ahead and start looking around for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. All right, Tim, we're pretty deep into this Victory Monday. It's been a blast, too, man. The interaction on Twitter has been great, especially watching the Lions fans pout around because they got their ass kicked. Although the score looked a lot closer than that game actually was.
Yeah.
There was many times you could tell that the Bills kind of were playing with their food a little bit. Lions come back, that type of thing. But obviously the standings get a little bit shook up. And I believe these are up to date. I think I did it right before we went live earlier today. So you see the Packers are still sitting in the 6th seed. The Lions now sitting at 12-2. The Philadelphia Eagles, I would love for the Eagles to just snatch that number 1 seed away from them, man. I'm an Eagles fan from here on out, gang. That's how that's going to work.
Yep.
So, and obviously the Lions got 3 more games to play here as well. We'll see how they do down the stretch. But as it sits right now, the Packers are the 6th seed, and they got a comfortable lead over the Seattle Seahawks in terms of potentially falling to the 7th seed. So you've actually got a 2-game lead on the Seahawks, plus you got the head-to-head tiebreaker, right? So that'll kind of come into play a little bit there as well. And, of course, Washington is just 1 game behind us in the 7th seed. So feel really good, man. You win these next couple games, you're going to finish in the 6th seed, possibly the 5th seed. So anything you want to add to the standings, how they sit right now, man?
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Like we really need Minnesota to catch that 3rd loss. That'll start to make things a little interesting and kind of put our destiny in our own hands as we grind out these last 3 games of the year. We got the Vikings and the Bears to round out the season after this Monday night game against the Saints. So any help we can get would be greatly appreciated. We haven't had much this year. Now's as good a time as any, right? Hopefully the Bears squeak one out tonight for sure.
Yeah. I hope so too, man. Really do. And you never know when they may get hot down the stretch here, especially seeing they've got the coaching change and all that. Minnesota, they just continue to find a way to win ball games as they have the rock here with 12 minutes left in the first quarter. Game pretty much just begun. Sam Darnold just missed Jordan Addison on a 2nd and 5 throw. We're looking at 3rd and 5 here. Like I said, roughly 12 minutes left in the first quarter as the game just gets going. Now, as far as the Packers schedule and the remaining schedule here, you got the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football. Listen, that could be a trap game. We talk about it all the time. Any game in the league could be a trap game. They played pretty decent. They almost beat the Commanders, right? Took them down to no time left on the clock, decided to go for 2 as opposed to tie it up and send it to overtime. And I think, was it Spencer Rattler was the quarterback, I believe? And you guys know at one point Spencer Rattler was like the top prospect, right? He was one of the highest recruited quarterbacks coming out of high school, goes to college, and things definitely didn't go his way. I think he went to Oklahoma, ended up transferring to South Carolina, dropped way far down in the draft. So he's got some talent. He's got some arm talent, no doubt about it. But the Saints are pretty banged up themselves. So, again, you can't overlook them, but you just got to come out there on Monday Night Football and take care of business, man. Get that dub, and then reset for Minnesota on December 29th, which should be a 1 o'clock kickoff or a 12 noon Central kickoff there. And then, of course, we got the Chicago Bears in Week 18 that they're looking to potentially flex, with that being the oldest rivalry in the National Football League. So the remaining schedule here, Tim, for me, man, I feel good about winning 2 of the last 3, possibly winning out, but you can't overlook New Orleans and Chicago either, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what Matt LaFleur is preaching to his team right now. You know, it's easy when you get towards the end of the season, you start seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, and you can kind of get ahead of yourself. We cannot forget about this Saints team. Yeah, it's a Monday night game, primetime at home. That's great. You know, 2 out of 3 of these last ones at Lambeau Field. That's awesome and everything. But you can't sleep on this New Orleans Saints team because you know, for the same reasons we said we can't sleep on Seattle last night. And you know, luckily we didn't, and we took care of business. I firmly believe you know, the Saints game is going to be kind of the same MO. You know, play some solid defense. Trust that your offense is going to put a 30-burger plus on the board again, and just get that dub, right? You talked about that, beating the teams that you're supposed to beat, you know, and we've been doing that all year. So I hope we don't have a hiccup here against the Saints, and I think we can take care of business at home for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt. Let's go to the chat real quick. I know it's absolutely lit up in here. Joseph in the chat said, I was at the game yesterday. Let me fix that for you, Tim. Sorry about that. I was at the game yesterday. Absolutely amazing experience seeing us completely take over the stadium. I would say 30 to 40% Packer fans. We absolutely spoiled a night when Seattle was honoring 12th man. Go Pack Go. So, yeah. And here's the thing, like the Lions fans are chiming in going, we took over your stadium, and they're always showing the picture where everyone left the stadium. And there's just, you know, like what it looks like maybe 10% of the stadium capacity is Lions fans that hung around after all the Packer fans went home after the game, right? And they're saying, see, we did it to you. That's a bunch of BS this year. I thought we showed up really, really strong this year against the Lions from a fan base standpoint. Seattle, all the pictures you see, Tim, Joseph's hitting the nail on the head here, man. The stadium's full, and it looks like damn near half of the stadium is Packer fans.
And I guarantee you half of those Packer fans all live in Seattle, or they're close to that area. You know, we travel very well as a fan base, but we're also represented worldwide, right? There's Packer fans in every nook and cranny of this beautiful ball we live on. So I would be willing to bet that, you know, maybe 20 to 25% of those fans may not have even got on an airplane. They may have just jumped in the car and drove over to the stadium for the game and representing the Pack. So I love it. And you're absolutely right. We can't take that lightly, man. You know, the Seahawks, man, playing out there that I keep wanting to call it CenturyLink. I know it's Lumen Field now or whatever. But that is one of the more difficult places to play in the National Football League, and to see us take over like that you can't take that lightly either, man. That says something, and that's why, you know, a lot of the players after the game, you know, paid some respect to the fan base for doing that and really showing support and kind of taking over enemy territory. And we also heard Coach LaFleur talk about it in his presser too, that it was a huge lift and a huge boost for the guys, you know, when they're on defense here and Go Pack Go. And you couldn't be further from home, but it feels like a home game. So I think Joseph is spot on here. I mean, that's awesome, man. I wish I was at that game. That would have been great.
Definitely. Joseph also went on to say, and my guy Adrian showed out, human missile on the field, who is always around the ball. He's going to be elite for many years to come. And it was so cool too, Tim. Like I said in the pregame, this is what he put on his Instagram. And it's just that little shot of Michael Myers staring around the edge of the tree. So
here's the guy.
I love that he's kind of embraced that persona, right? You know, like when you look at Tucker Kraft, it's funny. Some people have put Tucker Kraft out there with the hockey mask on, like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. And now you got Edgerrin Cooper on the defensive side of the ball putting these shots of Michael Myers up. I love it, dude. I don't know about you. I'm an old school horror flick fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm that dude that grew up in the 80s and 90s, back when horror films weren't just, hey, let's make it as gory as possible, right?
Right.
Although in the late 80s, it did burst onto the scene.
Yeah, it took a turn.
Yeah, it did. But so Adrian Cooper, I love that he's kind of embracing this for sure.
I think it's awesome because, I mean, you think of that character, right? Michael Myers, right? Like, kind of doesn't really say anything, kind of expressionless, kind of just methodically moves around and does what he does.
Just pops up out of nowhere. Right?
Yeah, kind of like, Edge Coop did last night on the football field, right? I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And when they originally made that movie, he was called The Shape, right? That was the character's name, was The Shape. It was supposed to kind of feel like that, like he just kind of this shape moving in the shadows type thing, and ends up being obviously a mental patient that escaped. And you guys, I'm sure you've seen it just like I have 1,000 times. So it's a classic for us. When we get to October, we put it on a couple times a year for sure, as we get ready for the Halloween festivities there in October. But Andres in the chat, defense heating up again. Yes, sir, they are. It's so cool too, because like we've kept up pretty much the whole year, Tim, and really focusing on what are they strategically trying to do this week? What are they trying to do, the next week? What does this team do really well? What does this team do, kind of bad? And what you've seen with the Seattle Seahawks, we knew they like to throw the ball around a lot, so we did a lot of fire zone blitzes. Did a lot of situations where I've seen Carl Brooks drop into coverage on a fire zone blitz. I've seen JJ Enigbare drop into cover on a fire zone blitz. So we did a lot of 4-man rushes. We simulated 6-man pressure, and we ended up dropping 2 of those guys out. In some cases, it was an edge defender. Like, if I remember correctly, the Adrian Cooper sack there in the first quarter, which we're going to hit on, obviously, on Chalk Talk tomorrow, it was a fire zone blitz where they ran a mock T stunt, meaning Adrian Cooper, who was playing mock on that specific play, was going to go first, occupy a double team, and allow Kenny to loop around. And if the double team slides with Kenny, then the edge is cleared out to hit the quarterback, and that's exactly what happened. And then on the from the offensive perspective, over the right tackle, you had JJ Enigbare dropping the coverage. It's what we call a fire zone blitz. It was a cover 3 mock fire, and I would refer to it as a 55 drop, meaning JJ Enigbare's jersey number 55. So really, really cool to see the defense heating up. Again, I thought they showed up and showed out. And there's a lot of people still complaining about this offense, and I can't help you. Like, we've scored 30 points the last 2 games. I cannot help you.
Yeah, I have nothing to say to those people at all.
Yeah, and listen, fan how you want to fan. It's cool. And I know our listeners, 99% of our listeners don't feel like that. But it's just, man, it's frustrating as a fan base. You just got to kind of hit mute and move on. Like, I'm not going to argue. I'm just not going to do it. I've done really good this week, Tim. Like, I've stayed away from the arguments on social media. It's just pointless, right? It's like when you're convicted in how you feel about something, it's like, okay, if I go and show all of these statistics, all the analytics, the tape, everything, I'm proving someone else wrong and making their day worse, right? So why do it? Let's just move on. So it's kind of the point we're at. But the defense is definitely heating up. Exactly. Andres also went on to say Jordan Love throwing dimes. Man, he missed some throws. There's no doubt about it. No, he wasn't perfect. But the fact that, once again, protecting the football, that's the top priority, man. You throw a couple touchdown passes, you move the ball down the field, you take what they're giving you underneath, you're keeping your offense in a good position in terms of trying to maximize what you can out of the run game, even though they've got a stacked box against you. And finding a way to get Josh Jacobs involved in the game plan, even though you couldn't get him the rock as effectively as you wanted to, even though he did get it, 26 times, 25 times on the ground. So 30 touches for Josh Jacobs. And I thought Jordan Love did an excellent job just kind of playing point guard. You know what I mean? I
agree. And it's not, you can't call him a game manager, right? Like you said, it's more of a point guard. You're running that offense. You're taking shots when you get an opportunity to take a shot, and then you're playing conservative and just passing it off when you need to. And I think, the moral of the story is with Jordan, man, he's getting better every single week. And this is a trend that I hope continues. And I still don't feel like we're even close to his full potential. I think the more football he plays, the better he's going to get. And we're at the beginning of one hell of a ride for Jay Money's career. So I agree with Andreas there in the chat for sure. They gave him number 10 because he only throws dimes. I've been telling you guys this since 2020. Let's go.
Caleb Williams just got blindsided. fumble, sack, strip sack, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was his head that popped off. It was actually the football. And
The Bears still suck.
so Minnesota recovers it and almost returns it for a touchdown as Blake Cashman picked it up, of course. Van Ginkel completely ignored a block. He was looking too far downfield and got Cashman absolutely crushed.
Yeah, so all that crap I was saying at the top of the show about like, oh, the Bears are gonna get a win. Yeah, forget it. It's not gonna happen.
It's early, Tim. It's early. Let's have faith.
Yeah, but it's come on.
It's still the Bears.
It's still the Bears. Yeah, it's a wrap.
All right, Joseph in the chat says, +2 amazing catches, Watson sideline and Romeo with the final touchdown. They both made chalk talk. That's another one, like when we're talking about the negative fans, showed that Christian Watson catch in slow motion, that back shoulder throw, and a guy said, Jordan Love underthrew him. It's like,
oh my God, idiot.
Idiot. Back shoulder. No, he was supposed to throw deep. I'm going, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I can't do this.
I love it because, when it comes to these receivers, let's be real, nobody's caught more hate from the fan base than Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. So I love that they balled out last night for sure.
Yes.
And I just love Rome's attitude too. They were trying to get him hype about his performance and he just played it cooler than a polar bear's toenails, man. I love it.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Mountain Man Pack says, Rome is a dog, and I love his press conferences. Co-signing that statement, sir, for sure, for sure. I love it. Romeo's got this kind of it's like a quiet swagger, right? It's like a quiet, reserved, but extremely confident in himself and his abilities, and not here for any nonsense or theatrics. He's all ball, all business, man. I love it.
If you guys haven't seen that, I chose not to retweet it, but you can go find it on Twitter. It's hilarious. They asked Romeo this big, long, drawn-out question. He said, I just tried to catch the ball. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, right? Dude, amazing. Love it.
Venom Slash, good to see you, buddy. He says, there you go. Jordan Love is signing autographs at Lambeau tonight, one day after beating the Seahawks. That's our QB. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was supposed to do it last week. They had a scheduling conflict, and they rescheduled it to tonight. And it's awesome what they do over there at the Atrium. I believe Edrin Cooper's there too. I think there's a handful of other guys there with Jordan signing autographs for donations for the Salvation Army, I believe. So that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And again, Venom hitting the nail on the head. Like, what else could you ask for in your starting quarterback? Forget the on the field stuff for a second. Like, don't get me wrong. There's very few turds in the NFL that play starting quarterback. They know they're the CEO of their organization, right?
Yep.
But man, Jordan is just like above and beyond, helping fans get their car unstuck last year in the snowstorm, right? And just him, the thing that hit really hit my heart heavy was last year when he, while you're going into an election cycle, you got all this division with police officers and this and that, and some portion of the public painting every police officer out to be this just evil person, right? And Jordan, what did he do? He chose to go and meet with the local police department, show hey, I'm unified with these guys and gals, and obviously both parents being police officers growing up. It's just he's a damn class act, man. And obviously he got engaged this offseason. And when they decide to raise a family, boy, you talking about some world-class athletes, because Ronica, right? That's her name, Ronica?
Yeah.
Dude, she's a dog. She's an athlete, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
both
sure.
of them, and she's looks like she's just as tall as Jordan is. So they're probably gonna raise a half a dozen basketball players in that household. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right, though. I mean, it's like the fact that they're great athletes is like, it's secondary. These, those are two really good young people, and you'd rather be remembered as a good person than a good player, first and foremost. And I look at Jordan Love, man. He's just a good dude who happens to be a professional athlete, and we're blessed to have him here in Green Bay for sure.
Yeah. Daryl in the chat says Carrington Valentine's first interception was awesome. It was intended for tight end Noah Fant. Valentine was there to nab the ball away. It made chalk talk, and just an excellent play. And what's crazy is I haven't broke the play down completely, but just the first pass through, cutting the clip, getting everything. It's like a 5-step process to do chalk talk. I got to get everything organized, the clip edited, and then I got to go through and actually watch and break down, each diagram of the play. But if I was looking at it correctly, to me, it looked like it was man coverage. And he broke off of his guy. He was covering his guy using that, I think they call it that fisheye technique, looking at the quarterback through his way and broke off his coverage and intercepted the ball, if I remember correctly. So
yeah, I think you were right, because I remember seeing more man than I expected to see. Did you feel that way last night? I felt like we were in man coverage a little bit more than normal.
It could have been, there's a couple times that I noticed match coverage. So sometimes that can appear like man. But we'll break it down, though. Any of those, like Edgerrin Cooper's interception was obviously zone, right?
Right.
If I remember correctly, like I said, Carrington Valentine's, the reason I think it was man, just in the initial watch, and again, I'll be able to tell y'all for sure when I go break it down tomorrow before Chalk Talk. They motioned, I think it was Jackson Smith and Jigba out wide, and Carrington ended up looking at Keyshawn, and they switched. So that's typically indicative of Keyshawn. His design or his responsibility was to guard Jackson Smith and Jigba or not, right? When you're in man coverage, that type of thing. So that's what made me think it was man. And I want to say they sent Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of across the middle, and the ball went to Noah Fant, which was being covered, I believe, by Evan Williams, if I remember correctly. And the guy that Carrington Valentine was supposed to cover ran like a little out route or something, or flat. And Carrington, watching the quarterback covering his guy, seen it, turned around and went and nabbed it, even though he was in man coverage. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So like I said, we'll get you the answer tomorrow for sure. Go ahead, Tim. Mrs. Green says, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had to put it up.
Yeah.
The wife. Tim Danier had a heart attack when Val caught that ball in the end zone. That's right. It was half from excitement of the interception and half screaming at him to take a knee.
Yeah.
And stop trying to return it.
Like I said, Mandy heard me from downstairs. When I came downstairs, she said, "What the hell was Valentine doing?" And I went, I said, "I know." And she went, "I know you know because I heard you." She heard me say, "Get on the effing ground." That's exactly the words that I screamed. I know the neighbors.
Heard it from a fan right here.
They probably had 911 on speed dial, ready to go. Man. But, anyway, Drew D in the chat. This was not the week to be a negative fan, LOL. It really wasn't, man. It's like there's been plenty of opportunities this year to go, man, this team isn't playing like they should. Again, I think it's just those people that they just wait, man. They wait for the second that something goes wrong, and then it's all right, let's tweet about it. Let's get it out there. It's a miserable way to fan for sure. Coach Lynn in the chat says Cooper is a savage for that post talking about the Michael Myers post. Yeah, it's just setting the tone, man. No doubt about it. What I noticed about him and what you're really looking for in a rookie, Tim, is I think his allergies are killing me. Is you're looking for someone that the game isn't too big for, and when he's on the field, it doesn't look like he's trying to match the speed of his opponents. It looks like he's dictating the speed of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Imposing his will out there, for sure. And certainly for a rookie, looks extremely comfortable. Playing in the NFL for sure. I mean, you almost have to remind yourself that he's a rookie sometimes when you see him out there playing the game, because he looks like a seasoned vet. Like you mentioned last night in the post game, like it's hard to find a weakness in his game. I'm sure we could talk to Jeff Hafley and Coach Camp. They might disagree and say that there's a lot of things that they want him to work on. But one thing's for sure is that's the future at linebacker for us for at least the next few years here in Green Bay. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be picking up the option or giving him a massive contract extension when the time is right. But it's awesome to have him here right now as a rookie, and just to see him playing at this level, it's amazing. We could say the same thing about a few other guys on the team too, like Evan Williams, and obviously Javon Bullard before the injury. But it's just awesome. It's a testament to Goody's skills and the scouting department when it comes to getting these guys in the draft, and this staff putting them in a position to succeed. I mean, every time Edgerrin Cooper's hit the field for us this year, he's made an impact. Even in the games that, early on when they peppered him in, he was getting 5, 6, 7 snaps. He was making an impact. And now, the cat's out of the bag, right? It's no secret anymore. Everybody in the NFL knows who Edge Cooper is now after last night. And he is. I think Collinsworth was absolutely right on the broadcast. We were watching the birth of a rising star right here in this league, and that's Edge Coop for sure.
Yeah, 2-0 for this in the chat. Said, if you're a negative fan now, don't celebrate with the team later. Amen.
I love that. Yep.
Somebody said something about the Bears one time. They were acting like a Bears fan. They said, if you're not with us when we're whatever it was, when we got 2 wins, then don't be with us when we got 4. That's what they said. It was obviously they used the entire total, and it was a couple years ago, but that broke me up, man.
I love it.
So the Vikings are leading 10-0 in the first quarter. So the route seems to be on. Let me give you guys a little play call here. 1st and 10, a little nasty split. Looks like they're in 12 personnel. Caleb hands it off, and got a gain of about 5, I guess, something like that. So we'll see.
I'll give you a little play-by-play.
The Bears still suck.
Dynamite drop in, Monty. That broadcast school really paid off. All right, let's get into it. Let's go through Twitter real quick and just kind of see what came down the pike. I've been showing different angles of this play all day long, Tim. And obviously this guy, let's see, at Clippin' Rippin' on Twitter, he had screenshotted the video I had shared and put carnage, right? And I said, look at that crime scene. I mean, Josh Jacobs just absolutely owning a Seahawks linebacker.
That was just right shoulder to the sternum, right? And just ended this guy's day, basically. You're now immune. Congratulations.
It wasn't even like he put his whole body into it either. It was just kind of like a little glancing blow. But Pack Daddy Ryan Schlip tweeted this out earlier. It said Justin Fields fan club was the original tweeter. It says Justin Fields is headed to the playoffs for the first time in his career. Superstar. And Ryan Schlip had retweeted it and put, on the same week the Bears got eliminated, the NFL gods hate the Bears more than I do. So Justin Fields finally making it to a playoff appearance, Tim. Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that I don't think he was the problem down there, right? I guess history has proven us correct. It wasn't him, although we gave him plenty of crap during his tenure as the Bears quarterback. But we had a feeling when this deal happened that he was going to be utilized in Mike Tomlin's system in a complementary way with Russell Wilson, and you see it happening now. And the Steelers are, they're a playoff team, and the Bears still suck. So I think the joke is definitely on Chicago. It's not on Justin Fields at this point.
Yeah. Ben Thorne in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Says, can we have Green Bay play in their winter white uniforms the rest of the season? I'll be all about it. I love them. And I'm I'm not superstitious, but I am one of these. I played, playing.
I am a little suspicious.
Yeah, just a little not super, just a little. There is just this thing though about me that's like I love a routine, right? And maybe that is superstitious. I don't know, but I don't look at it like, oh crap, if I don't do this, we're gonna lose. It's gonna be a bad day. It's just kind of like, hey, that worked last time. Let's jump into that,
Right.
So
there is a chance we could though, in theory, right? Because the home team gets to choose the uniforms, right? So we'd be at home against the Saints. If we opted to wear white, we would wear white. And then we're on the road in Minnesota, which means we would wear white on the road like we did last night in Seattle. And then we'd be back home for the Bears game in week 18, which we would be able to wear white again. So, this isn't entirely that crazy of a proposal. I think Ben's onto something here. Maybe they will wear their all whites the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely. So again, it says it's pretty cool seeing, like I said, Justin Fields make it to the playoffs. In terms of the uniform, I'd be all about it too. I think they're probably looking at it from a business standpoint, though. Like, hey, we want to sell green jerseys too. We want to sell the home jerseys too. So don't kid yourself into thinking it's just about, hey, what looks the best, right? It's how can you maximize profit, and it's a business, and that's the way it is, right?
It's Green Bay. It's all about that cheddar, right? All about the cheese, man.
All about the cheese. Kieran in the chat says, I'm a trucker and I was rocking the G today on my way to make a delivery, and a Lions fan was giving me the I can't stand you look. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. So be safe out there on the road there, Kieran. Appreciate you, bub. All right. So
you should have looked at the Lions fan and gave him the old throat slice, right? Like the before the game. That would have been great.
Exactly. All right, 33rd team with a tweet here. It says quarterbacks with a higher success rate than Jordan Love since week 10. So obviously we're getting ready to enter week 16, right? So for the last 6 weeks or the last 5 weeks, the only quarterbacks to have a higher success rate than Jordan Love are Jared Goff and Josh Allen. That's it. So Toyotathon in full effect here for sure, man.
Yep.
Let's see, Siggy in the chat says a certain Packers per day pundit has anxiety over Reed's punt receiving skills. Another post cried about Reed falling down on a third down pass attempt. Can't we enjoy the Packers' dominance? Yeah, I mean,
That's terrible.
The main thing, Siggy, and this is no way is a shot at anyone specifically. When you can create a little bit of a rift, speaking point, conversation piece, if you will, that's going to get the likes. That's going to get the views. That's going to get the retweets. That's going to get the responses. Many times that's what people go for, right? That show sucks and it's boring. We're not going to do that. We're not going to try to stir up controversy. Now, if we think something's real and it's legit, yeah, we'll hit it. But, again, though, Jordan Love here, Tim, on fire, dude, on fire.
I mean, I love the comps, right? I mean, these are, Josh Allen's clearly going to run away with the MVP, I think, this year. And, Jared Goff, check down merchant or not, I mean, the guy's putting up impressive numbers this season. So Jordan is in the company that he should be in, right, with the top tier quarterbacks in the NFL. Like a lot of us had always believed from day one that Jordan was the heir apparent. He is him. And I'm just watching Love develop, man, and watching this continue because, like I said, I still feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now when it comes to what he can do and what this team can do going forward, especially with a couple more drafts under Goody's belt and loading up with more talent. Jordan's just going to continue to improve, and so will the Packers. So this is a good place to be right now, year 2 as a starter. I'll take it.
Yeah. Sneeze is going to catch up to me, Tim. It's right around the corner. I'm telling you.
Here's a sneeze.
I keep fighting it off. iRock says, what is Toyotathon? All right. So for those of you who don't know, when we mentioned Jordan Love and Toyotathon, this is the best way to explain it, okay? And I seen this tweet and I laughed my ass off, Tim. All right. So, this meme gets used a lot right here, right?
Yep.
It's a picture of this dude at a ball game with glasses on. He looks like frat boy, and I guess it's his girlfriend sitting there, and she looks so disinterested in what the hell he's saying. I'm explaining this for the podcast listeners, and he's just right up in her face, and he's just deep into a story, right? And Tyler Brook on Twitter tweeted this out and said, so the Packers quarterback Jordan Love plays really well in the cold months, which coincides directly with the hit holiday sale Toyotathon. It's fascinating because he was playing really poorly, but looks like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback whenever Toyotathon hits. And it's got the Packers in a great spot to secure a playoff spot and a deep playoff run. However, Toyotathon typically ends in January during the playoffs and before the Super Bowl. Some people want the Packers to actually campaign to extend Toyotathon to keep the magic alive. So love the meme there that Tyler used on Twitter. But yeah, so basically to sum it up for you there, iRock, Toyotathon's a sale they do every year, right? And it seems like every year when that sale kicks off, I think it's in November and through December, right, Tim? Jordan Love just cranks it up. So everybody has immediately said, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the adjustments of the second half or a quarterback getting hot. Hell no, it's Toyotathon. That's what this is. Right. Did I miss anything there with that explanation?
No, that's pretty accurate. And I'm sure iRock totally knows what Toyotathon is. He just didn't understand the correlation between Jordan Love and the Packers and Toyotathon. But no, it's so true though. Like, you hope it does. We want to keep that. I think Toyota should just go ahead and extend it year round. Like this just have a Toyotathon year, and then we can go ahead and put this to bed because I think this will be the year the Packers are definitely going to get over the hump when it comes to the playoff picture.
Mm-hmm. Coach Lynn in the chat said the real question is why has Toyota not come to Jordan for an endorsement or a commercial? So true. It's kind of like Aaron getting started with the whole State Farm, right? Back in the day, the discount double check. You guys remember that? That really took off. They thought that was just going to be like a one-time thing. Hey, it's funny, Man, that stuck around for, gosh, seemed like a decade, didn't it?
That's true. It's very true.
All right. So we're over here trying to sell endorsements for our boy Jordan Love. Go ahead.
Hey, Professor Cake's killing it right here. Hey, Toyota makes the Tundra. Green Bay is known as the Frozen Tundra.
Imagine a special edition Toyota Frozen
Tundra edition.
Oh, come on.
A little icy white, right? That would be nice.
Hell, we talking football, Tim. We should be running. We should be running a Fortune 500 company right now. You kidding me? All right, up next, the highest graded Packers in Week 15 versus the Seahawks, according to PFF. This came out from PFF Green Bay Packers, and we're going to hit the PFF grades here shortly. But the highest graded Packers in Week 15 versus the Seahawks. Number 1, Edgerrin Cooper settles in at a 93.8 PFF grade. Number 2, Carrington Valentine with a 90.2. Number 3, Zach Tom with an 83.2. Number 4, Kenny Clark with a 79.5. That's 2 weeks in a row that Kenny Clark's right around the 80 mark. Last week he eclipsed it, I believe. This week he's a half a point away from it. And then Romeo Dobbs, a 78.7. Just an absolute freaking dog as well. So Edgerrin Cooper and Carrington Valentine, man, along with your boy right there, Romeo Dobbs too. And you want to see Kenny Clark continuing to be consistent. And Zach Tom is just Zach Tom. He's going to be good every week, man.
Did we figure out, was that a typo on that other tweet?
I didn't check back listen, when it's game day, 24 hours before, 24 hours after, I can't even read my notifications. Yeah. Like they just go freaking nuts, and I can't keep up with anything. So they may have responded. I actually asked that question. It was Jacob Morley, right?
I think that was who tweeted it.
Yeah.
It was, I believe so.
I'm going to go see.
But I don't think there's any way he allowed 12 pressures.
No.
Did Seattle have 12 pressures in the game?
No.
Yeah.
But my whole thought was, did it mean to be? Did he mean for it to be 2? Like I'd like to know the actual.
Right. Or is it 1? Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? To your point, it's true. It's like they're trying to get this info out like as it comes in so fast that like a typo is probably the most logical explanation. So it certainly isn't Zach Tom giving up 12 pressures. I know that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I just checked it too. Jacob Morley 7 hours ago said, "Lordy, bad typo. Zach Tom allowed 2 pressures, not 12." So
there it is.
We're good there. So
perfect.
Get that confirmed. But again, man, these players balling out. Again, we'll hit the PFF grades here in just a second. We'll rattle through those real quick. Let's just kind of roll on through the old Twitterverse here. And let's see, David Bakhtiari. This was interesting. I thought it'd be a good conversation to have. Might as well have it right now. Adam Schefter pointed out all of these injuries from the Detroit Lions. Lions' notable defensive injuries this season: defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, defensive tackle Aleem McNeil, defensive lineman Marcus Davenport, defensive lineman John Kaminsky, linebackers Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maben, cornerbacks Carlton Davis, Enos Rakestraw Jr., and Emmanuel Mosley, and then safety Mela Fanu. All right, so with that being said, David Bakhtiari responds and says, which field surface did they get hurt on? Ask him for a friend.
Big Dave. I love it.
You guys remember, wasn't it Detroit where Rashawn Gary trashed his knee, and I think Elton did too? Yep. Same place, right?
Yep. Big Dave screwed his up on turf too. And I love that even not being an active player right now, he's kind of like the self-appointed director of the committee to remove artificial playing surfaces from the NFL. And, Big Dave always, every time he tweets, it's usually gold. So I love it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I like that it pisses so many people off when he tweets. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. I love it.
But again, I think there is something to that, man. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And, the numbers suggest that grass, you get less knee injuries on grass, right? Mm-hmm. And been pretty vocal about it. Now, the league will try to convince you, no, that's not the case, but obviously the numbers are the numbers. So
I think the fact that artificial playing surfaces have come so far, like that we're so far away from that old, carpeting over concrete like they used to play on turf. Considering that we have the best artificial playing surfaces ever created in human history, and these guys are still destroying their knees. Right. On these fields, it leads more evidence to believe that like maybe an all-out ban and just play on natural, or at least 50% natural surfaces. Hybrid surface or better. I'm not a fan of turf, and I've always said the only thing dumber than turf is turf outdoors. See a lot of stadiums that have artificial surface and they've got an open roof stadium, so now you're exposing this artificial surface to real world elements, and it just can be a recipe for disaster for sure.
Yeah. Harry Cheese in the chat says, guys that play on the turf say it's still way harder on your joints. I asked Mike Wall about this, and he said, because I was asking, is it like the cleats getting stuck with it? He said, no. He said, it's like playing on a trampoline. Like the field gives. It's like it's very bouncy, and that's horrible on your joints. So he was very adamant in that regard about, hey, this is an issue. When we had that conversation, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. So Joe in the chat says, I don't feel bad for Lions fans. You want to play rough nonstop. Unfortunately, this is the result. Ask Baltimore. I was thinking about that today, Joe. Like, everyone talks about, especially in the mainstream sports media, they talk about, man, this Detroit Lions team's tough. They're tough. They're tough. And I'm going, how tough are you that you got that many injuries? Doesn't tough mean you don't get hurt? Tough means you play through stuff, right? And you go, okay, well, Clayton, no, season-ending injury is a season-ending injury. Touche. That's very well said. Yep. Now, on the flip side, when you play out of control like that, guess what happens? Your players get hurt. So there you go, man.
Yeah, get in your car and put the pedal to the metal and drive 125 miles an hour everywhere you go and see how long it takes for your engine to explode. It's going to happen.
Yep. As Coach Lynn says, good point. And again, I heard it said one time, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough, right? You can't, it's just the way it is.
You have to be stupid and weak, man. Not a good look.
So I tagged Kyle Brandt with another angle of this screenshot here of Josh Jacobs absolutely running through the Seahawks player's face, and put hashtag angry runs and tagged Kyle Brandt. So if you guys are on Twitter, go give that a retweet. Let's see if we can get Josh Jacobs that angry runs award, because it was a thing of beauty, no doubt about it.
You think that Bears apologist Kyle Brandt is gonna allow a Packer probably not. Yeah.
I think since he started doing angry runs, I think it's been one time that we won the award, and I think it was AJ Dillon. It was
I think it was. Yep.
That's the only time I can remember. So this right here, this dot gives a chance to obviously cut underneath it. Now, if you go back to the guy who quote tweeted, I love this, KDG or at official414 on Twitter, posted this picture of Jordan Love just standing straight up, right? Both hands not on the ball, just standing there like, give me just if he breaks open right here, we're going to drop a dime piece. And KDG on Twitter says, when Love do this, he about to hit you with some BS. So true, man. So shout out to official 414 KDG there. Beautiful tweet, man.
Great follow on Twitter for sure. And yeah, he's right, man. Great throw by Jordan, dude. I mean, we always talk about that, right? You throw it to where he's going to be, not where he is. And that was Jordan. I think Jordan knew Dobbs was there, but I think that was about as long as he looked at Rome. I think he was looking at that coverage and timing it and just, drop that ball in the bucket and trust that Rome's going to be there. And, like Rome says, I caught the ball.
Yeah, I caught the ball. That's what I do. Oh, we got Lincoln at the door in here. I think that was my signal. That's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all. All right. Welcome to hour two. Now let's dive into the playoff race here. As BetUS had put this tweet out, the playoff race is heating up. 7 teams have already clinched, and the playoff picture is getting clear. So when you look at the NFC,
playoffs,
the Detroit Lions have clinched. The Philadelphia Eagles have clinched. The Minnesota Vikings have clinched. The Green Bay Packers are next in line at 99% chance of making the playoffs. Tim, you think they're going to be able to pull this off, man?
Yeah, I do. And you know what? We remember how the Saints game went last time we played this team, right? A little bit closer than we would have liked. So I don't think it's going to be a boat race on Monday Night Football, but I think the Packers win at home, pay tribute to Mark Murphy at halftime, and we go ahead and clinch a playoff berth all in one night. I love it.
Yeah. And again, when you key in on the teams that are closest to the Packers in terms of a percentage chance of clinching the playoff berth, obviously you got those 3. So you got what? It should be 4 more teams, right? Packers have the greatest chance at 99%, then Tampa Bay at 88%, Washington at 82%, the LA Rams at 55%. So then you've got the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks, like I said, they're that team that like, hey, let's just let them fall on their face the rest of the season. The Atlanta Falcons are at 26%. They're playing tonight. They probably already kicked off, to be honest with you. Yeah, it looks like the ticker up top says it's the first quarter, 0-0 with 5 minutes left. It's the Atlanta Falcons at the Las Vegas Raiders in the Toilet Bowl. So we'll see what happens there. And again, the Vikings are leading 10-0. Justin Jefferson just had a huge drop. He was thinking pay dirt before he caught the ball. He's trying to turn upfield. and dropped it, but they're driving again here. So it looks like they're going for it on 4th down on a 4th and 3. On the AFC side, clinched already the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Houston Texans. My brother's Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm excited. That's going to be my team in the AFC, obviously. I'll be pulling for them. And then Baltimore Ravens have a 99% chance of clinching. The Denver Broncos are now at 91%. The LA Chargers are at 88%. And then it drops all the way down to 10% for the Colts and even lower for the Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals. So with that being said, you pretty much got your 7 teams identified there. It's going to be very, very unlikely that the Chargers fall out of the playoffs. So that's the way that sits right there. Did somebody just throw an interception? Hold up a second. I think they did. Was that Mr. Tyreek Stevenson, Timothy? Let's see here.
I don't know. I'm not watching. You're doing the play-by-play. I don't have the game on.
It was a 4th down play. So, and they decided to go for it. They were kind of on the edge of field goal range, or maybe they thought that the field goal was going to be too long. So they decided to chuck it up. Sam Darnold chucked it up into like quadruple coverage, and he got picked. So,
we're going to give him some.
Exactly. Let's see if they can do something with it. So again, there is your playoff picture or playoff outlook there. On Twitter. I think we already hit it. Yeah. Let's see here. So we got that. It's up here. All right. Next, I thought this was cool. The Packers tweeted this out. Man, this grab by Romeo, Tim. I mean, when you see it in slow motion, it's still amazing, right?
Yep.
But think of it with everything moving fast, like the reaction for him to turn onto that right shoulder, and like they showed on the telecast, to get that right elbow down, because that one elbow counts as 2 feet, right?
Yep.
He's becoming a hell of a receiver. He really is.
And I think you're right. I mean, he's a damn good receiver, man. And I still think we're only going to see him improve as well as he kind of grows into his own here, as his career develops. I hope it is here in Green Bay. I hope we find a way to pay these guys and keep him and Scoot and, Jaden Reed, and keep all these guys together, man, as long as you can. It's going to be tough, with, money talks, BS walks. We get it. But Romy Rome, man, that's my dude, man. I've been a card-carrying member of the Romeo Dobbs fan club for a while now, and he continues to impress, man. That was just great body awareness and space, and like you said, having the wherewithal to turn and get that elbow down so we can get the touchdown there. And another great example, like we talk about Jordan's throw there, that ball placement is everything, because if Rome doesn't get there or he doesn't make that catch, it's hitting the ground and it's an incomplete pass, and it's not a turnover. So it's a great example of Jordan taking a calculated risk, trying to push the envelope, taking a shot, and putting that ball right where only your guy can get it, and trusting your teammate to do his job, and he did. Rome continues to impress, man. And no big deal, first game back after, not playing for 3 weeks, I'll just go get 2 tutters and, make some key plays for my team. And I just love it, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Coach Lynn says, great grab, better throw, in my opinion. It was a hell of a throw by Jordan, too, just to anticipate where Rome was going to be. Antonio Universe says, what if Dobbs goes and plays with Burrow? Man, Burrow is playing lights out right now. If he were to go to a team like that, I guarantee you he could, especially like if they do sign, let's just, this is fantasy. I get it. We ain't going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but a situation like that, Jamar Chase being that true number 1 alpha wide receiver, imagine the attention he would take away from Dobbs. That would, I could see Dobbs having gaudy numbers at a place like that. When it comes to Green Bay, it's kind of a little bit of the opposite. You got multiple people who can make plays, but not one receiver that people go, oh man, they're going to force the ball to him, So just a different approach really all the way around for sure. Drew D says might be best for Dobbs to stay with the Packers for less. I kind of feel like it would be too, but again, we can't overlook the fact that of what happened earlier this year too. There was definitely something there, although I do think it was blown out of proportion a little bit. Let's see here. 2-0 for this says Dobbs needs to remain a Packer. He has crazy connection with Love, and they've had that connection since before Romeo got in the league, right? Like They were working out together with the same trainers. I think Jordan had already been drafted to the Packers. Obviously, he was in the league of backup for Aaron for 3 years, and he and Romeo had begun working together in the offseason as a part of that offseason training program with their personal coaches. So they definitely have a chemistry even outside of their time here with the Green Bay Packers for sure. So
yeah, it's very interesting. Rome was Nevada, and then
Mm-hmm.
Jordan was
Utah
Utah
State.
State. So they probably met in college, playing with each other or against each other at some point. I think that's cool that they formed that bond.
Yeah, I can see that. And the Bears ended up punting. Imagine that. God, that offense is so bad, man. All right, so this image right here, we won't spend a whole lot of time on it. I thought it was cool, though, how often teams are in 11 and 12 personnel. So if you look to the very far right, it's got EPA, overall EPA. And to the very far right, that's per play, per offensive play. Okay, so the Packers, and I think that's how this is set up and ranked. The Packers are currently in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th spot. So they're 8th in the league in offensive EPA per play. Okay. And then if you look, though, they're at 0.09. So there are 3 teams tied for 5th right above them. That's the Buccaneers, the Bengals, and the Eagles. Okay. But they're only 0.02 of a point, right? Higher than the Packers there. So they're right on the cusp of being a top 5 offense in terms of EPA per play, as well as other, key metrics. So when it comes to the running game, however, the Packers are sitting at a minus 0.05, which is still very well in the top 10, no doubt about that. And then passing, they're at a positive 0.22 EPA per play, right? So I thought that was interesting as well. So that would put them in the passing game. That would make them tied for the 4th most efficient passing game in EPA per passing play. Okay. So now what the graphic shows you here, though, is how often teams are in 11 and 12 personnel. So when you look at this, the Packers are in 11 personnel. Let's see here if we can find it. 67% of their snaps, they're in 11 personnel. They're in 12 personnel, 25% of the snaps. Okay. And then when you break that down, when you're in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, which is typically a running set, the Packers are actually passing the ball out of that set 37% of the time. And when they're in 11 personnel, they're passing out of that set 59% of the time.
Which is the lowest on the chart. 11 personnel. I mean, we're throwing the least amount. I mean, look at some of these other teams. They're well into the 70th percentile. For throwing out of 11. And I think that's one of the reasons we found success. We've committed to the run, and we're not afraid to run out of 11 personnel, and we're finding success when we do it.
And it explains why Detroit made that adjustment and actually took their base 34 onto the field when we were in 11 personnel. They said, we're not going to let them do that. And it was effective. So next time you play them, you can kind of anticipate that. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but you can kind of anticipate if you meet them again in the playoffs, and you come out in 11 personnel and they're going to come out in their 34 jam, you got to throw the rock. And that's exactly why Matt was trying to get a little throw happy in that game against Detroit, because when they bring a 34 jam out or even a 4-3 base, if a team does that against your 11 personnel, it's going to be really hard to run the football, really hard. Yep. So I will say also there with those numbers with the Packers, it's worth mentioning that in 11 personnel, they are averaging 6.9 yards per play. And in 12 personnel, it drops to 5.4. So it kind of goes hand in hand, Tim, with it seems like a large majority of the plays that make chalk talk on offense and the plays of the year, they're in 11 personnel. That's where you're getting your explosives, no doubt. 12 is important, don't get me wrong. But 11 is definitely Matt LaFleur's bread and butter, no doubt.
Yep, I agree.
All righty, so let's hit this real quick. Let's talk about the pass rush. I put this tweet out just a few minutes ago before we went live. I said, here are your updated defensive line pass rushing numbers for the Packers. Number 1 in pressures for the Packers is Rashawn Gary with 43. Okay. And he's at a 13.1% pressure rate. So that pressure rate went up this game a tenth of a point there. Okay. Number 2, Kingsley Enagbare with 22 pressures. Tim, that blew me away that the person closest to Gary for quarterback pressures, he's almost doubled them, okay? So that's how much better Gary has been than everyone else from a pass rusher standpoint on the team, albeit Kingsley Enagbare with 22 pressures is now 2nd on the team in pressure percentage. So he now leapfrogs LVN to a 9.8%, as where LVN is sitting at 9.7%. So JJ Enagbare is all of a sudden your 2nd best pass rusher. And it's cool.
That monster performance last night probably helped.
Oh, absolutely. And then 3rd on the team in pressures with 22 is Kenny Clark, but it's worth mentioning his pressure percentage is significantly lower than everyone on this top 5 list at 6.5%. What that simply means is Kenny Clark has been on the field more than anybody else right here, okay? And he's pressured, like I said, 22 pressures, but at 6.5%, you want to kind of be around that 10% mark. It's typically a good measuring stick. Somewhere between 9 and 11 is like, okay, that's a good. And then once you get over 11, it's okay. You're having a pretty darn good year rushing the quarterback. LVN at 9.7% and 20 pressures, still a great year. And now Devontae Wyatt's cranking it up at 8.2% with 16 pressures. And I did go on to say Rashawn Gary leads the Packers in sacks with, I think he's got 6.5 now. He's now got, what was it they said, 5 sacks in the last 6 games? No, 4 sacks in the last 5 games, what it was. So obviously Gary cranking it up. Anything you want to add to those pressure numbers there, man?
I mean, no, not really.
It's not surprising to us, right? Like we've talked about.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know why. I'm sure there's a big portion of the fan base that's shocked at this. I'm not. I know you're not. And for as much heat as Rashawn Gary has taken from the fan base, I think we should just keep this up here for a little bit longer, Clay. Let the fans get an extra glimpse here. Maybe take a screenshot of that. Because Bane Gary is that dude. He's been that dude. He's going to continue to be that dude. So. You look at this edge group, man, between Kingsley and LVN, you can tell it's having an effect on some of these younger players, being out there with a guy like Rashawn. They're working out with this guy. They see the prep. They're practicing with him, and they're going out and playing together as a team with him. And it's helping when you have good leadership and you got a guy like Rashawn who leads by example and, give these young players something to mold their game after. It has a trickle-down effect, and we're seeing it. I mean, honestly, Kingsley and Egbare, coming out of nowhere and becoming an absolute monster in this pass rush is a good thing. It's awesome that that's happening. And I don't care what it does to, other guys' individual pressure rates or, snap counts, any of that. We want to win ball games. And this, like Emilio's hockey line, kind of attitude, right? Shift by line, rotate, vary the snap counts for everyone. We have a rotation of guys. It's led to us winning 10 football games this year, guys. I mean,
Yep.
This is what we need to do is win ball games. So I don't want to get in the weeds on too many of the individual things, but it really is cool to see guys like LVN and JJ and Egbare coming on strong right behind Rashawn, who's, like I said, he's that dude and will continue to be that dude.
Yeah. Drew D in the chat said, is Egbare the rotational guy or LVN at this point? So the snap count yesterday is really all we got to go off of, right? Outside of Rashawn Gary with 29 snaps, next would be LVN at 25, then Kingsley and Egbare with 22, Aaron Mosby with 22 as well, and Brenton Cox Jr. with 20. So it truly is that hockey line. Outside of Gary, they want Gary on the field more than anyone. Obviously, he's the highest paid of the bunch. He's the most effective of the bunch. But LVN, Kingsley and Egbare, Aaron Mosby, and Brenton Cox Jr. all within 3 snaps of each other. So I think that's definitely by design there. Coach Lynn says Gary's rubbing off on Cox for sure. No diddy. So there you go with Coach Lynn with the thought of the night there. I love it. I couldn't let it pass us by. I'm sorry, Tim.
Oh, my gosh.
Now let's get into the PFF grade, shall we? Perfect segue. PFF sponsor the show. Here we go. Let's look at some of these grades as we're coming down the wire here. I think we got about 20 minutes if we go the full length, and we don't have to if we don't need or don't want to here, Tim. But so let's see here. Let's go overall team grades in the according to PFF in the NFL right now. The Packers are now up to 15th in the league at 81.5. All right, that is their ranking in terms of overall team PFF grade. Offensively, they're a 78.1, passing grade 77.2, pass blocking 81.6, receiving grade 74.2, running grade 91.0, run blocking 59.4, on defense 69.7, run defense 61.5, which is amazing because we got a legit borderline top 5 running defense. Tackle grade 68.3, pass rush 66.2, coverage grade 80.3, and then special teams grade of 56 is how that sits right there. That's an overall team.
Love it. You see any red in there? I don't see any red. No red on that chart. I love it.
Definitely, man. So again, man, the big thing that sticks out here is the running backs are just playing out of their mind. And I don't know what PFF's doing with the run defense. I really don't. Again, it kind of feels like the whole thing of, do they truly understand what the call is and what's going on with the stunning and the spying and all that? Maybe so, maybe not. I'm not going to be the one to dive into those weeds too deep there. So when you go to the Packers, this was hands down their highest graded game of the year. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Trying to get it to where you can see it a little bit better. So, yeah, hands down, this was the best game according to PFF they've had all year. Was Week 15 at Seattle. 85.3 overall grade. Offensively, they were at 80.5, passing 67.4, pass blocking 68.6, receiving 82.0, running grade 58.6, run blocking, Tim, the best run blocking grade all year long. And lo and behold, the running back is what graded low this game. So kind of weird there that it's never on the same page. 79.9 with the run blocking grade. Defensively, the best defensive performance all year long, 81.5. The run defense, 63.3. Tackle grade of 77.0. Pass rush grade of 70.1. Coverage grade, 82.8 for the DBs and the backers.
This is what gets you over the hump, man. This is how you win a Super Bowl. That defense is the X factor, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So when we go to the individual grades, offensively, at the top of the list for Week 15, Zach Tom, 83.2. What's interesting here is his pass block grade dipped to a 65.4, but his run blocking jumped up to an 89.4. This was his best run blocking game of the year, according to PFF. Second is Romeo Doubs at 78.7. He had 48 snaps, passing game grade of 78, run blocking grade of 60.2. Dontavion Wicks, Tim, 78 PFF grade on 30 snaps. And again, we've seen he only had a couple catches, but man, he maximized those catches. We know what he's doing in the running game. Look at his run blocking grade, 80.0.
I was just going to say, and his pass blocking was great too, man. You see him block that dude into the water cooler on that. I think it was either a play to Watson or Reed maybe. And Wicks was just getting down and dirty, man, and engaging and doing the small things. You're right. And that's why it's nice to see him grade like this. Get a little credit for that because he had a hell of a game. It's not just the couple of catches that he had.
Yeah. Josh Myers, listen, that last game against Detroit, arguably the worst game of his career this year or this week, 76.1. Pass blocking grade of 77.0, run blocking grade of 73.3. He still had a penalty. So even with that penalty, grading out of 76.1, man, got to give a shout out to Josh Myers. Hell of a ball game there, according to PFF. Jaden Reed, 75.7. I know people are seeing the numbers dip. Again, guys, they're doing things schematically to try to take Jaden Reed away. And what happens? You see us incorporating Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson down the field. Obviously, you got two big pass interference calls, throwing the ball down the field to them. It's because they were trying to lock down Jaden Reed underneath. And you notice, too, with Tucker Kraft, there was always bodies around Tucker Kraft as well. Tucker Kraft graded out sixth best at 72.5. Elton Jenkins, 71.6. Christian Watson, 71.5. Chris Brooks, 69.7. And Rasheed Walker, 69.5. Surprise, surprise. Pass blocking grade is 78.2. Jordan Love, 66.9. So those are all of your Packer players that graded out 65 or higher. Tim, you have the floor here, man. What sticks out to you?
Rasheed Walker, man. What a steal of a draft pick. My goodness. This guy's going to be an all-pro. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think it goes really well with the other pillar of that O-line, right? You know, you got Zach Tom on the right side. And, you know, we had some questions about that left tackle spot, you know, when Big Dave was down for the count for sure. And I think Rasheed Walker just has completely answered the call. He's really stepped up and slowly but surely is becoming super reliable on that blind side for Jordan Love. And, you know, we talk about the run block grade with him in the past, but I'm okay with those low 60 run block grades when he's got pass pro through the roof. You know, we'll take it.
It's the most important. There's no doubt about it, man. That's what Packers really prioritize. Sean Ryan's another one, man. It's just consistency, man. 63.5. I know it's not like this great grade, but every week, I could be wrong. It just feels like he's constantly been in the 60s here lately. Yeah, so starting week 13, 60.6 with an 81.7 pass blocking grade. Week 14, a 66.8 with a 72.3 run blocking grade. And then in week 15, a 63.5 with a 70.1 run blocking grade. So Sean Rhyan, man, when you look at his floor, the worst game he had this year was against San Francisco, and it was a 33.8. Other than that 33.8, he did not score under 50 in any other game. His ceiling was a 71.6, and he's just staying right in the 60s or right there around, right? You got of the 60 grades, week 2, this is between 60 and 70. Well, I'd say 60 or higher. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 6, week 11, week 13, week 14, and week 15 all have a PFF grade of 60 or higher. And again, I know he's not like this absolute stud of an offensive lineman, but you're seeing him improve, man. You really are.
I mean, this is a guy last year we were talking about potentially being a full-blown liability.
Right.
Yeah. And now it's like, man, this guy is coming into his own for sure. And, really what it is, it's hard work meeting talent, right? We had a good draft grade on him. That's why we brought him into Green Bay. And, a little bit shaky that rookie year, obviously, for reasons that we don't have to mention anymore. But he's a guy who changed and learned from his mistakes and put in the work and just simply wanted it more than these other guys at camp these past couple of years, and is fighting for that roster spot every single week. And now he's at the point where he's really solidifying his role on this offensive line. I don't feel uncomfortable with him starting at right guard for us. And the proof is in the numbers for sure.
Yeah. Drew D said that week 1 grade of 59.8. You got to round that up. Let's go ahead and round that up.
Yeah.
So that's, math's math, right, Drew? You got to do what you got to do there. So, all right. So that's your offensive PFF grades for week 15. Now let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. And man, Edgerrin Cooper, my goodness, dude, this is so much fun to see. It really is. Edgerrin Cooper, 93.8, coverage grade of 93, obviously with the interception, just an absolute stud across the board. That pass rush grade of 82.4. He really is starting to feel like Micah Parsons, man. And I'm not saying he's as good as Micah Parsons. Please don't go tweet that, okay? I'm just simply saying Micah Parsons, when he first came in the league, when they tried to throw the ball his way, he was always around the ball. It just seemed like he was a ball hawk. When they wanted to fire him on that Mike or that Will fire, man, could he get after the quarterback. Edgerrin Cooper's a dog. It's going to be so much fun watching him grow into whatever role that Jeff Hafley sees for him. And I think it's worth mentioning to him that, you go into the draft, and Jeff Hafley is definitely in Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst's ear. Like, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Edgerrin Cooper was at the top of the list for them. There's no doubt about it, man.
Yeah, for sure. And, making the comp to Micah Parsons is legit, because what we're talking about is complete linebackers, right? It's very hard to find, a shortcoming or a flaw in their games. And Edgerrin Cooper is just so complete so early. Normally you'd think, we always talk about giving guys time to develop and, this kind of thing when you're dealing with rookies. And Edgerrin Cooper does not come off like a rookie. He doesn't play like a rookie. He doesn't carry himself like a rookie. And he certainly doesn't see the game like your typical rookie either, because he almost has that Xavier McKinney kind of sixth sense for what's happening as it happens or before it happens. And, that was evident with the pick last night, man. He was all over that, and just great FBI, and a dude that I'm really excited as a Packer for sure.
Yeah. Drew D in the chat said, it feels so unbelievable to have a linebacker that can score in the 90s on coverage. It really does, man. It's and again, that's to me, that's Quay's strength, is that vertical coverage, right?
Yep.
But it's just some of the other things underneath that he struggles with. But I'm with you, Drew. Like he's Cooper's the dude, man. He's that guy moving forward. There's no two ways about it. Coach Lynn says, can Cooper play edge moving forward? He could, but I don't think that would be where you could maximize him. Like, you want him mugging that A gap and dropping out and creating confusion and then getting after the quarterback when you need him to in that regard. And I think with the pass rush starting to amp up, I mean, we got 7 sacks, right? Only one of those was from Edgerrin Cooper. I think only one of them was from anyone other than defensive line, right, Tim? Like, Edgerrin Cooper was the only linebacker that had a sack. We didn't have any safeties or any cap blitzes. So it was all defense. So 6 sacks from our defensive line, and the other one coming from Edgerrin Cooper. So kind of feels like keep doing what you're doing with Coop, and you're simulating a 6-man pressure and then dropping them out and not actually only bringing 4. And if he's one of those, so be it. But I definitely don't want them to go the route of Dallas. I think they screwed up by trying to make Micah Parsons just strictly a pass rusher. Like, you had something special there, being able to kind of disguise it and also get him out in space to protect the football. Because I do think when you become predictable, you lose a little bit of that edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dallas is predictable with Micah Parsons. And they know, okay, where's he lining up? Let's double team him, as opposed to, is he blitzing or not? You know?
I like the question. Can Cooper play edge moving forward? I think we would agree he can.
I think he could. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could. I mean, he could probably play, 7 or 8 positions on that football field at the end of the day. But it's right. It's like, how are we going to utilize him in a way that, we don't become predictable with how we use our personnel? But I certainly think that he can if we needed him to. I mean, we had that with, Clay Matthews was like that, right? Put him inside, put him outside. Where does he prefer to play? Where do we prefer to have him play? Doesn't matter as long as we're finding success and we're not too predictable. And then, guys get banged up too. Sometimes you may need to move to the outside or to the edge group. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Lynn says, I like him at Mike moving forward. I do too. But again, like we talk about, that Mike and that Will is very interchangeable. Just, keep him there in the middle. And I would be all for him being linebacker 1. I've been pretty vocal about that. With Quay probably missing some time here, Quay looked pretty upset with that ankle, man. And that did bother me a little bit, seeing that, because it's like, I wonder if it's like a high ankle sprain or something, right? It wasn't a knee, right, Tim? Did we hear ankle, or did I just imagine it? I thought they said ankle.
That's what I heard. Everything was saying.
So if it's a high ankle, it might be something where, he's out until the playoffs, right? So if that's the case, look, a 99% chance of securing a playoff berth. Maybe this is some meaningful reps for Edgerrin Cooper. Maybe he gets the green dot. Maybe McKinney wears it. Maybe it's McDuffie or Wilson. I don't know. But one thing about giving it to McDuffie or Wilson, that ensures that they've got to be on the field, as opposed to Edgerrin Cooper staying on the field every snap. I think this is a good audition for Edgerrin Cooper, with Quay missing a little time, where we don't think it's going to cost us a playoff berth. You know what I'm saying? And let Quay get completely healthy if possible.
I agree, and I just think it might be a little early to put the green dot on him, but it doesn't mean he can't be on the field more and stay on that field. I agree. I think if Quay's out, I think it's going to be Wilson with the green dot, like we've seen before. But Edgerrin Cooper is certainly capable of filling that role at some point. I think probably sooner than later, but I don't think that's the time to put all that on his plate right now. But definitely the reps and getting the increased snap count by having to fill that void that Quay Walker leaves by not being available. I mean, I'm all for it. And I hope you're right, too. I hope we get Quay back, for that Bears game at the end of the year, or at least when the playoffs start, for sure. Because, again, I still want to see him and Edgerrin Cooper on the field for an entire game. I've been waiting. It'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. AFM in the chat says, wow, 90% selected Edgerrin. So we got a poll question up. Who was your defensive player of the week? 80, it actually just cracked 90 again. 90% of the votes went to Edgerrin Cooper. 9% went to Kingsley Enagbare. 1% to Carrington Valentine. Poor Carl Brooks didn't get a single vote. Tim, we need to get a family member to vote for Carl Brooks here. So, again, I like to put 4 up because I don't want to sway anybody. I want to give as many options as possible. I thought Carl was disruptive. So, it was between him and Gary. And I know Carl didn't get a sack. Gary did. But I felt like Carl was a little more effective as far as disrupting the offense. So I thought, hey, let's throw that up there. So
how do you not vote for a guy like that? Look at that. Like, just put a smile on your face. Just vote for that guy.
I'll tell you what else puts a smile on your face. Carrington Valentine, 90.2, man. A coverage grade of 90.4. Again, we've been very vocal. I've been vocal. I want him over Stokes. I don't want to put words in Tim's mouth here. But before we went live last night, and then again on the show, Tim said, I feel like Stokes had a good game. And I didn't pay attention to Stokes all night. I didn't notice it. It didn't flash to me. Tim, you were right, man. 77.8 for Eric Stokes on 59 snaps. He had the most snaps on defense, too, by the way. He had one more snap than Carrington Valentine, 77.8. But again, Carrington, man, 90.2. Holy cow, bro. Holy cow.
Yeah, the pick definitely helped his PFF grade for sure. But all in all, man, he played a hell of a game. Him and Stokes. We
Both
talked
of them
about
tackle
that.
grades,
We needed that from them. That was
Mm-hmm.
a huge determining factor in why we played as well as we did and why Seattle only scored 13 points. It's because we got the best out of CV and out of Eric Stokes, and I for one love it. And I am in lockstep with you on that one, Clayton. I do want to see more Valentine than I want to see Stokes, but I'm not going to sit here and dog Eric Stokes like 93% of the fan base does on a daily basis. The guy's clearly playing his last few games as a Packer, right? He more than likely won't be here next year. That's kind of the writing on their wall. So, hey, I respect a guy that understands that. You don't think he hears those rumors? You don't think he knows, the rumor mill? He's going out here and balling. He's playing as hard as he can every week. He's trying to stay available every week. I mean, this team is decimated with injuries, and Eric Stokes keeps answering the call, and I'll take it. He doesn't need to have 5 PBUs and an interception every time he plays. I mean, just don't get cooked out there and be a liability. And I think he did that last night and played really good football.
Yeah, Fred McFarley said I dogged Stokes all week and he shut my mouth. Same here, man. Same here. I was you guys know my stance on that. Like, I don't want him taking a single snap from Carrington Valentine. But man, you got to give credit where credit's due. Stokes went out there 77.8, solid. TJ Slayton, Tim, 83.1, only 13 snaps, but man, right from the get-go, my man out there shutting down the run. Yep. And he's maximizing those minimal opportunities he's getting. There's no doubt about that. Right behind him, though, Kenny Clark with a 79.5. And, of course, we mentioned Eric Stokes with a 77.8. When you think about the defensive line showing up there on the interior, man, Slayton 83.1, Kenny Clark 79.5. And that's 2 weeks in a row for Kenny, right, if I remember correctly?
Sure is.
Let's see, yeah. 3 weeks when you think about it. Starting in Week 13 against Miami, Kenny Clark 70.7, 80.1, 79.5. Still had a bad year, don't get me wrong, but, man, he's starting to crank it up at the right time. Toyota-thon in full effect for Kenny, too.
Yeah. We talked about it in the pregame, man. We for all the talk there was about Ja being out and the questionable assignments in the secondary, having to move Keyshawn to the slot. We got no Bullard, all this, that, and the third. And I mentioned it on the pregame. I said, yeah, that's great. How are these guys up front going to play? These battles are won and lost in the trenches. And yeah, look at Big TJ and Kenny Clark, man, just putting together a solid game. And then you combine that with the way Cooper played and, Rashawn and, Kingsley and Igbari, man, it just makes it that much better. But I think our D tackles did a good job for sure last night.
Yeah. And then, of course, Aaron Mosby, 73.2 on 22 snaps, playing solid. It feels like he's becoming one of the more consistent players. Look at this, Tim. Look, would somebody come look at this? He's now at a 74.7 on the year, okay? And he's played, total snaps? 86 snaps. So this isn't like a crazy small sample size, right? He's about to crack 100 snaps. So his last 3 games, 73.9, 76.4, 73.2. And what's crazy is he really flashed against Miami with that 73.9 on only 14 snaps. And then week 14 at Detroit, they gave him 22 snaps. This past week, 22 snaps. It feels like we went from having no pass rush at all to we got 4 pretty damn effective pass rushers here lately, man.
Yep. That's like I said the other day, right? You can complain all you want, negative fans, but you can't complain about this pass rush anymore, man. The writing's on the wall, man. We all see it.
So that's the second time this year that they got 7 sacks. Didn't they have 7 sacks in Tennessee too, if I remember correctly?
I think it was the Titans game, right? Or was it?
I was in the house, but how it is. It's when the Captain Morgan's out running around the stadium, it's hard to keep up with stats there in house. You know how that goes.
It's always tough to keep track of things just being there live in general, right? You see the game totally different.
Yep. Let's see, Devontae Wyatt, a 72.1, Kingsley Enagbare, a 70.7, Brenton Cox Jr., a 69.6, Rashawn Gary, a 65.9, Tyron Hopper, only 3 snaps, though, 65.0, Xavier McKinney, 64.7, Isaiah McDuffie, a 64, Eric Wilson, a 62.6. Nobody really graded out horrible other than, like Quay was the 22 snaps and he got hurt. That was a 44.2. Carl Brooks was a 47.1. What's crazy is I had him listed as a player of the game because I felt like he flashed. I guess I was wrong. Keyshawn Nixon struggled, obviously, with the penalties, 54.5. Evan Williams, 55.8. Was that you or Emilio that said they felt like Evan was a little off last night?
Well, we both talked about it, but Emilio had brought it up. He kind of felt like, maybe Williams was kind of a half a step behind in some of the coverage looks. And then, I brought up the point that he was bringing the thunder with the tackle grade and lowering the boom on some of those hits. But I definitely agree. I don't know how healthy he really is. Maybe he's somewhere at that 80% mark and, still isn't quite, where he wants to be getting his legs under him. But I would agree that he looks like he lost a little bit of a step last night in coverage. Hopefully that'll, go away as he continues to get better,
Yeah, Professor Cakes in the chat says, Clayton, haven't you learned PFF grades are the end-all be-all? Gosh.
You heard me, Brad.
My Napoleon Dynamite voice. Gosh. So, yeah, and again, we always try to throw that disclaimer out there for anyone who's rolling their eyes right now. PFF isn't everything. It's just another metric we can use. We'll use NFL Pro, talk about the pressures, pressure percentage of sacks. We'll look at the tape. We'll use Chalk Talk to break down what the exact call is. It's multi-layered here. This is just kind of on the surface there. So let's see. Aaron Rodgers said, Clayton, I had a question in the chat. Let me see if I can find it, buddy. Let me climb up here real quick. Where's it at? Maybe right here. Here we go. Question: would you sign Greenlaw in free agency to pair with Cooper and Quay? Man, it's tough. Let's assume that McDuffie is going to hit free agency and be gone. Let's assume that Eric Wilson is going to hit free agency and be gone. Okay. So what you're left with outside of any practice squad players, which I think Michael Barrett is on the practice squad, if I remember correctly. So he'll probably kind of become that guy that gets signed to a futures contract if nobody picks him up and might be in the near future of just kind of that backup player, right? What McDuffie was for so many years. For me, Cooper, Quay, and Hopper, the question is, would you go sign Greenlaw? It depends on the money, obviously. I don't think that would be a bad move, although he tore that Achilles, right? We talked about that in the Super Bowl. Is he going to be the same player once he's 100% healthy? Aaron Rodgers seems to be back to old form. I don't know if you guys looked at his numbers lately. I say that because he's coming off that Achilles as well. But quarterback's way different than linebacker, I want to say no on the surface, Aaron. I know Greenlaw's a hell of a football player, but I want to say no on the surface. What I would rather them do is go try to find the next great linebacker in the draft, because those inside linebackers typically fall into the second round. So if you can get, let's say you can get a Edgerrin Cooper clone next year in the second or third round, I would much rather that with a rookie contract for 4 years as opposed to paying a pretty large lump sum for someone like Greenlaw who's got that Achilles. I'm wondering is it going to be completely healthy moving forward? Is it going to slow him down at all? That type of thing. I'm not opposed to
Greenlaw will be 28 next year also. And so that's kind of that turning point, in your career, right? So coming off the injury, rehabbing, is he going to be 100%? He's also knocking on the door of 30 before you know it. And he plays one of those tougher positions too. Middle linebackers, no joke, a lot of wear and tear on the body. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, right? It's kind of like we said about when we got Josh Jacobs, right? We're like, are we going to get 2022 Josh Jacobs, 2023 Josh Jacobs? Who's going to show up? You never know. History has shown us that things worked out by signing Josh Jacobs. But I don't know. I think I'm with you, Clay. I think I'd rather go to the draft or, hey, let's see. We got Tyron Hopper in the hopper. Maybe he'll work out. There's other ways to go about it. But I think it's a great question, though, right? I mean, you got to at least ask the question, right? The guy's a premier linebacker in this league.
Yeah. Coach Lynn says, Clayton, are you thinking we move on from Quay? Whether we should and whether I think we will are two different things. I think we should. That's me personally. But I think Goody is probably going to try to re-sign Quay next year. I don't know, Tim. It just feels like that. I think you mentioned that in the last 24, 48 hours. Kind of feels like they really like Quay, right? The fact that if he's healthy, he's still over top of Edgerrin Cooper on the step chart, right?
Yep. Here's the other thing. Do you want to develop Quay and, get him to the point that he's at now where you feel like he's starting to hit a stride, starting to play some good ball, starting to really round the turn as a pro, and then we're just going to let him go be a star somewhere else and watch him, tear up somebody else. And it's like, I think that might be where where that staff is at with them. They've developed this guy. They are high on Quay Walker, and for a lot of good reasons. And, regardless of how we feel, it's about how they feel. And I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, Clayton. What is going to happen and what we think is going to happen might be two different things here.
Yeah. I wish we had more time. We're pretty much up against the gun here. I was going to try to pull up some NFL Pro to cross-check the linebacker position here. I might be able to do it without putting it on screen and just kind of give you guys, we'll filter out some of the noise, the qualified defender only here at the linebacker position. So when you look at Quay Walker, first of all, Coach Lynn's question, Clayton, are you thinking we move on from Quay? I'm thinking we don't, but we should. And when I say I think we should, I'm simply meaning, you guys know I'm cool with re-signing everybody on this roster for the right price. If you're telling me we can get Quay for, $3 to $5 million per year, and you can get out of a contract in a couple of years if it ain't working out, I'm all on board for it. But if you're going to have to go re-sign him to the equivalent of like a Kenny Clark contract, I just don't – I haven't seen that in Quay, me personally. He's not –
You got to think that's what Quay is going to look for, right? He's going to want multi-year deal. He's going to want as much money as he can get. Yep.
And you know that other teams – keep in mind, you got to go back to the draft process that year too, Coach. That year, the reason that the Packers took him when they did, he was a name at the last second, like 48 hours before the draft. He started skyrocketing up boards because these insiders were hearing multiple teams talk about him. So that means someone else had a first-round grade on him as well, the fact that the Packers took him as high as they did, right? At least a second-round grade. So when he hits free agency, those teams that had a high grade on him are going to go look at him, hey, you know what, maybe they misused him or whatever it may be, right? He went through, two coordinators or whatever the excuse they could make up in their mind to match their draft board. And they'll go give him number one linebacker money. I just can't, like you said, like Coach said right here, someone will pay Quay, and that's what you're saying, Tim. I would rather not, based off what we've seen so far. And that's going off of this year, he's a 57.5 PFF grade. Again, that's not everything, right? So we know he can cover vertically. We know that. So if we were to go to stops, okay, and again, stops on in the running game, stops are that stat that's like 2 yards. I think it was like 3 yards or less that you make a tackle, right? So you can get a bunch of tackles and they can be 8, 10, 12 yards down the field. And wow, this guy's a tackling machine. That don't make a damn hill of beans to me that someone tackles somebody after they've gotten a first down. I want to know who's in the trenches making those stops, right? Who's being aggressive. And I don't even know what these numbers are. I'm going to try to comb through without the logos, of course, on NFL Pro here and see if we can find Quay Walker on stops. Now, we know he's played a ton of snaps, right? We know that without a shadow of a doubt. So let's see here. Let's go to 70 and extend it. I'm just looking here. Give me just a second. Isaiah McDuffie has 41 stops. Quay Walker has 40. So Isaiah McDuffie has more stops, more run stops than Quay Walker. And keep in mind, Quay Walker has played 711 snaps. Isaiah McDuffie has only played 590. So, again, the knock on Quay, in my opinion, is he's slow to the point of attack. When he decides and he makes that decision, he's a physical freak. He can get there, right? It's just there's just something that hasn't clicked on making that decision to go. Now, think back to Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith in Chicago was absolute cheeks, right?
Yep.
They let him go. He went to Baltimore and had the best year of his career. I could see Quay going somewhere else and just blowing up, right? That could happen. Sometimes it's coaching. Sometimes it's a change of scenery, a different fit, whatever it is. For me, again, when you couple the PFF grade with the run stopping ability, I just don't see him as linebacker one money. If he was in the top 32 in run stops, I'd be like, okay, we might have something here, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact that he's 53, that makes me hesitant. That, of course, with, like I said, the PFF stuff as well. So, and when you turn on the tape, you see it, right? You see he's kind of a half a second, he can make up ground with his physical ability, but he doesn't gain that half a step with this, right? Like he doesn't trust himself. And, what we talked about, Tim, the last few games, it's like it clicked, right? San Francisco, 91.4. Let's see, Miami 68.5, Detroit 62.2. Now, obviously, he got hurt in this game. And you've seen that the last play he played, man, he was dragging his leg. He was doing everything he could to finish that drive out.
Yep.
So it's not that he isn't tough or anything. You see these glimpses of like, okay, he's playing loose now. And who's to say that if he didn't get hurt, he would have continued to build off that? I don't know if that's a long-winded answer, but I'm just trying to kind of, run it through the old filter here in real time. I'm to the answer of no. How would you answer it, Tim?
Well, that's my boy, so I'm going to say keep him around. So, yeah, but I also agree with what you said, man. It's real, right? The fact of the matter is he probably will get a contract somewhere else, and I think that's what this staff probably looks at. Again, I'd hate to develop him and then we watch him go be a stud somewhere else and possibly come back and ruin our season or something. You never know. Mm-hmm. So I'm for keep him around, and but pending the deal is right, like you said. We know he's not going to give super team friendly, right? Guys want to get paid. You get one good crack at getting that real contract after your rookie deal's over with, and I think as long as they can find a creative way to get the financing done, I think we keep him. That's just my opinion.
And Daryl in the chat, we'll have to wrap up here. We went way over. I apologize to him. Daryl says Quay has one more year on his rookie contract deal. He's good till 2025. We'll have a whole another year to make this decision, right? Yep. I will say this. I think you'll get the best version of Quay Walker next year because he's going to know what's on the line, right? He's going to go all out. There's no doubt about that. Now, they got to make a decision on the fifth-year option this offseason.
That's a no-brainer. They're picking up the option.
I was going to say, I want to say no, personally.
Oh, cool. We don't agree on this one. All right.
No, I wouldn't pick it up because you're saying he's linebacker one. He should be paid linebacker one money. That's the way I see that.
Right.
When the Packers do it, they picked up Savages. I would be really surprised if they didn't pick up Quays.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from. Like I'd be shocked if they didn't pick it up. But hey, that'd be a good surprise, right? Let's say they don't. Maybe they're changing things a little bit. You never know.
Definitely. Drew D in the chat says the effort has never been an issue with Quay. It's not, and him caring too. Like you can tell that dude.
Yep.
No one is harder on Quay than Quay. Quay wants to be the best player possible, and that does mean a lot. That means a lot to me, it really does.
And he wants to be the best teammate and the best leader possible too. He shoulders a lot of that responsibility, and you're right, he takes it seriously, and that's a guy you want to see do well. You really do.
Yeah. And last comment here, Christian says the fifth-year option is huge money. It really is. It's huge money, and it's fully guaranteed. It's not like you can get out of it. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on that. Again, I'm willing to overpay for great. I'm not willing to overpay for good. And I feel like Quay has kind of been above average. That's my personal opinion. So, but we'll see, man. He may. This injury might not be much. He may get in the playoffs, become a monster, dominate next year, and break the freaking bank. Right? That could happen. Yep. So I hope it does. To be honest with you, I want someone that's just an absolute menace next to Edgerrin Cooper. And of course, Edgerrin Cooper has started good. It doesn't mean he's not going to have struggles. Hopefully he continues on this trajectory, but he's getting in that range now where we're setting unrealistic expectations for him because he's just been a blast to watch.
Well, that's to your point. It's like you watch him play, man, the game looks small for him. It doesn't look like it's too much or too big for him out there. He's always seems one step ahead, and it's fun to watch. It really is.
Yep. Last one, I promise. Drew D says overpaying to see another year of development could make sense, though. It's a great point, right? It could be a potential investment in the future to know that you made the right decision as opposed to what Tim's saying. You let him walk and he dominates somewhere else. So, all right, guys, that's it. We're out of here. I'm not going to look at the chat anymore. I could talk to you all night. This has been a blast. Tim, thank you for your time, pal. Appreciate you. We will see you guys tomorrow evening, PTA Live for Chalk Talk, okay? No show in the morning. I got to get out and work and everything in the morning. So we got a lot of stuff to take care of. But appreciate y'all. And I like 2-0 for this. Says Clayton lied. This show sucks. So there you go. All right. We appreciate everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening. We will see you tomorrow.
And we go.
We out.
Bye, guys.